everyone, my name is Jack Chapple. I upload entrepreneurship, business, investing, and finance related videos pretty much every day. And today we're talking about how to get a corporate job as a teenager and how to find a mentor. So, you know what? I get asked tons of questions about investing, about building businesses, small businesses. One of the more common questions I get is, how did you get your corporate job at 18? How did you make so much money at 18 years old? I'm going to talk about that in this video. I guess I should give you all some background information for those of you that have never seen videos before. So I'm 23 years old now, built a few businesses, very successful. And at the age of 17, 18 years old, I got a corporate job and I was making very good money. I was making about 30 bucks an hour. It was pretty good. And I also, at that time, that job, I was essentially an apprentice for a very successful, essentially maybe multimillionaire. I don't know if he's at that level, but at least, several times over millionaire. The guy who owns tons and tons of businesses. So how did I get that job? What can you guys do? And some tips, I guess. Now, I think let's get started here. So we're going to cover the corporate job part. Why do you want to be in a corporate job first? I want to ask you guys that. Because it's good money. For a lot of you, that's the main thing, money. Money, and you might have a good mentor. You might have a crappy boss. I had a great one. You guys might not have a good one. But here's the thing. Are you willing to deal with the stress? There's going to be lots of stress that comes with corporate jobs. That's pretty much every single one. Are you willing to deal with the usually 1 to 2 hour commute into the city? Or maybe you're going to have to rent an apartment and throw money to the tooth fairy. Right? Are you willing to make some of those sacrifices? You're not going to be seeing your friends and family as much. Are you willing to, instead of most people work 8-hour days, you're probably going to have to work 9-hour days plus have a longer commute than most people. Are you willing to do that? And are you willing to do that for the course of a year or 2 years or 4 years or so? Some people aren't. So I just want you to think about that right now. It's going to come with a lot of stress, and now I'm going to show you kind of what I did. So here's the very first thing. If you want to get a corporate job and you're a teenager like I was, here's what you're going to need to do. You're going to probably need to spend a year prepping for this, doing this. All right? You're going to need to spend a year learning every skill. That's the first thing. Okay, so I'll talk about what corporate culture is kind of like. Most corporate cultures, or most corporations, or medium to big size businesses, they're owned by people 40, 50, 60 years old, even sometimes 70 years old. So who do you think that they like to hire? They don't really like to hire the teenagers because they assume that you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're talking about. A lot of the times that's true. Most of the times that's true. So they like to hire like late 20s, early 30s, people that want to settle down and be at the company for a long time and have experienced enough of life to fit in and to do work properly, I guess. So how can you put yourself ahead of everyone else like I did? The person that I replaced 2 people essentially, both 30 years old. They were both in their mid-30s moving away. So how was I able to put myself ahead of other 30-year-olds? Learn every skill. That is extremely important if you're watching this and I started learning a bunch of skills when I was about 14 years old after my dad had a brainstem stroke. I needed to learn to step up and I needed to learn how to make some money. And so I learned every business skill that I could, right? From investing in the stock market, I started learning about that when I was 14. How can you make, what skills would a corporation like to see? So it depends. It really depends. So in terms of raw skills, I would say if you can do website stuff, anything online. So websites, animations, marketing campaigns, advertising. If you can learn how to do those things and practice them and do social media, maybe you can handle a company's social media. If you can learn how to do a lot of those things, learn a lot of those skills that companies like to see, you're going to put yourself ahead of everyone else. Learn different software programs too. I mean, for me, I had to learn 3 geographic and demographic and information software systems that I'd never seen before. I learned them in about 2 weeks. That's all I did for 2 weeks. I didn't even pay attention to school at the time. And I also had to learn, I learned everything online. I had to learn every software program. So you want a corporate job, that's one of the important things that you can do is just learn every single skill that a company would want. I replaced 2 people, okay? I replaced 2 people at my corporate job. Not just 1, 2. And so that's why they wanted to hire me. That's one of the reasons why they wanted to hire me. It's because I could do the job of 2 people. Sure, I was being underpaid and overworked, but still I was getting paid pretty well, right? And I was getting to learn what it was like to be in a corporation and be mentored by someone. So that's what the very first thing I can recommend is just learn everything. Put yourself ahead of those 30-year-olds that only have 1 or 2 or 3 skills. Learn every skill. And by learn, I mean every day after school. Every day after school, I would learn something about it, like a software program or how to build a website or how to do this on social media or whatever. I would do that every single day after school. And that's what you guys need to do. So whatever corporation or whatever job you want to go into, learn every skill that every single person at that corporation would, need to know, I guess. Learn everything. Okay, we're going to move on to number 2 here. I think I've drained that point in there. I've put that point in there. So learn every single skill. Now this is kind of a side skill. This is a side skill here. So get good comm and sales. So the very first thing is, these are their own skills in my mind. If you want a corporate job and you want someone to take you seriously that's much older than you, that's running a medium-sized business, you got to have good communication skills. That's what comm is. Communication, you got to work on those skills. Communication skills are something that can make you seem a lot more mature than you actually are in terms of age, right? So when I was 17 years old, I was a very quiet kid. I was very shy. However, as soon as the light came on, as soon as I had to talk, as soon as I had to public speak, I was good to go. And I seemed like I was a 30-year-old, right? And so that's what you guys need to work on. Get good at communication skills. So how can you do that? It could just be going to talk to friends or family or whatever, just talking into a mirror, making YouTube videos, doing things like that to work on your speaking ability, work on your listening ability. One of the things that I found actually helped was actually getting into a relationship. I know that sounds weird. Getting into a relationship and talking with that person all the time and having meaningful conversations back and forth, that can actually help you in your business career and with your speaking and listening ability. So keep that in mind. You don't have to get into a relationship to get a corporate job, but that's what helped me. That's one of the things that helped me. So, and then the last thing here, last thing before I move on actually, is if you're good at sales, you can get a job anywhere. That's as simple as that. You can get a commission job at lots of corporations. And you pretty much get paid as you sell stuff. And most corporations are completely fine with that. Go up to most telecommunication companies do that. So if you want to get involved in that industry, in telecommunications, and be whatever, a worker for Verizon or Rogers or Bell or whoever, that's something that you guys can do. Get good at sales, work on commissions. Try maybe even selling stuff on your own. Try setting up your own side business. Try selling stuff at school. I mean, I've told that story before, how one of my first businesses in elementary school was selling bracelets, Livestrong bracelets. That's how I learned how to sell. I guess I learned a lot of ways, but that was the first way I learned how to sell, was selling those Livestrong bracelets. So get good at communication and sales. That is extremely important if you want, entrepreneurs and people to hire you and millionaires to hire you. So learn every skill, get good at communication so you actually speak like you're 30 instead of speaking like you're 14. Important. Now, we're going to move on to number 3 here, which is, so we've kind of talked about what you need to do before going in to get a corporate job and before going in to meet a mentor. Now, where do you find these people? All right, so we're going to talk about, I'm going to talk about this in a second here. We're going to get going here. So actively go to, here's where you're going to need to go. You're going to need to go to offices. You're going to need to go to conventions, and you're going to need to go to expos. Why? Why do you need to go here? People, actually, I remember one specific message a few months ago was about someone who was just asking me, how do you get a corporate job? I don't know where to find these people. I don't know where to go. And to be honest, they're all around you. Wherever you live, unless you're in a desert, there's going to be some sort of successful entrepreneur somewhere around you. You just need to go find them. So the very first thing is just go to the office. Go to, even a small business owner. Even if you go to someone who owns like a Quiznos or like a pizza place, or go up to someone who, like a lot of the times, the owner of the store is working there. I know that they're not the typical corporate entrepreneurs, but they're still entrepreneurs that started their own business. Right? So that would be a lower level person to go to, but you can go up to whoever and say, hey, can I work here? Can I do anything for you? I'm willing to work for pretty much zero pay just to get an experience. Maybe I wouldn't say zero pay. Don't go in like that. Just say, I'm willing to, do you need help with anything? I'm a young kid. I want to learn. And, you've opened up this business. I just want to learn how you did it and so on. And so you can go up to just small chains like that, whether it's restaurants and so on. But you can also find corporate offices too. And so here's the deal, is that those are usually in areas which you've never been to before in your city or your town or your whatever, wherever you are. Most people do not know where the corporate offices are. They do not stand out. Unless you're in like a downtown area where they're in skyscrapers, you probably don't really know where the corporate offices are because you don't go around there. Think about where most consumers go. Most consumers, they go to whatever. They go to the gym, grocery store, retail stores, Walmart. There's no corporate offices around any of those. That's not how the city plans those things. And so you're going to need to Google these. They're usually, it's usually in a part of town which is just, heavy into like industrial city building, I guess. Like I know a lot of corporate offices in my town. They're near, like around them is like auto repair shops, and around them is like a Ford factory, right? There's a bunch of corporate offices around there, but there aren't any corporate offices around, the Pizza Hut, right? And Walmart and Supercenter. So that's the very first thing where you can go, offices. However, here's from my experience of just seeing people do that, is that about 90% of the time they're just going to say, yeah, thanks for coming in, I'll take your card, and then they'll never talk to you again. Now, about 5% of the time, they'll be like, okay, well, maybe we can meet up again, maybe we can't. They'll maybe call you back and then forget about it, and then, whatever, you both go your separate ways. And then about like 1 out of 20 times, they might actually want to call you again and see you again and see what you can do for them. And it's making the most out of that 5% of the time. That's the important thing. If you can make the most out of that 1 out of 20 offices that you go to, that can be the difference between you getting a corporate job and not as a teenager. And so when you are going to see these people, make sure you have your pitch ready. Make sure you practice it more than I have at this very second here. Right? You go and you say, hey, I like what you do. Make sure you know what the business is about. I want to learn about whatever auto repair business. I want to learn how to run the business, what it's like doing all this, and I like cars and whatever field you want to go into. Make sure you know a lot about their specific business and why it would be a good idea for them to hire you. And so this is where it comes in. Learning every skill. This is something that you can pitch to them. Say, hey, look, I can do this. I can do websites. I can get more clients in. I can do this. Just give me 2 weeks of me just trying to work here. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But if it does work out and you like it, you hire me. Something along those lines. So think about what your pitch will be. Right? All right. So another place where people meet up is actually conventions. Surprisingly, there are these secret business conventions and expos that a lot of wealthy people go to, but normal people don't go to. So the last one I went to, I guess it wasn't with wealthy people. I mean, actually it was with wealthy people, but it was like small business people, not big or medium-sized business. It was a franchise expo. And there, guess who's there? People who own franchises and people who want to own franchises. It's a good place to meet the franchise owners of big, giant corporations. And my boss goes there, I think that there's 3 every 2 a year, I think, 2 or 3 a year. He goes to every one. And that's how you can go up and meet him. Because here's the thing. Here's the other thing I want to talk about. As a teenager, you're not going to get a corporate job putting a resume online or sending it in the mail. You're going to need to go meet them. You're going to need to go meet them. That's what will separate you from everyone else. You cannot just, if I were to just put a resume online or just send it to Jeff, that was his name, Jeff, he just would have written it off. If he didn't meet me and know what I was like, there's no chance in hell I would have got that job. So That's extremely important. You got to be face to face. And you got to be comfortable with talking to someone face to face. Especially people get nervous and starstruck when they meet rich and famous and wealthy people and stuff. It can't be like that. You can't. So that's my advice here. If you want to get a corporate job and find a mentor, learn every skill, be of value to the entrepreneur that you want to mentor you. You have to provide value for them. Even, for the first year, I was doing a lot of work. Yeah, I was doing a lot of the corporate stuff and getting sales, but I was doing a lot of grunt work too. I was an assistant, essentially. I was going and restocking whatever, the staplers and paper, and I was going to go, pick up food and stuff. I was doing a lot of assistant work when I started. People always think that about my corporate job as it being glamorous. I was getting coffee for people. I was doing that on top of actually negotiating prices with Shell and Dove and giant companies. I was also going to go get coffee. And I didn't drink coffee. It wasn't for me, right? I was going to go get food for other people and going restocking papers and going to drop off keys and going to deliver mail, right? I was doing all those grunt work things to try and incorporate myself into the business. And that's what I had to do. Are you guys willing to do that? Not a lot of people are, especially young people. One of the things that, especially near the end, what Jeff was saying was that how, when he started his restaurant chains I think about 20 years ago, he could hire pretty much anyone, right? He would hire any young person, as long as he posted a help wanted for dishwasher or waitress or cook, there would be someone it would be filled in a week or so. And now he's noticed that a lot of millennials, especially, they don't want to do that work. They don't want to wash the dishes. They don't want to do the grunt work. They feel entitled. And you want to get into the corporate world, you got to drop that. The world doesn't owe you anything. The world does not owe you a single thing. Not one thing. And here's the other thing too, is that there's going to be no, knight in shining armor that's going to come and pick you up as a mentor. That's going to be this person is going to be great as a mentor. I'm just going to mentor them and I'm going to pay them extremely well and everything's going to be great. That doesn't happen. That's fairy tale land. So you got to put in the work. You got to do this stuff. This is going to take, if you want a corporate job, here's where 90% of the work is. Here's where 90% is learning every skill. And then we got about 5% here and we got about 5% here. In terms of time commitment, importance, these are all roughly the same, but in terms of time commitment, you got to put in a year. You got to put in a year of learning every business skill you can. Everything. Learn every business terminology too. Learn everything you can about whatever business field you want to go into. That's so important. Think about this. Here, let's just say you're getting interviewed, or Jeff's interviews were just sitting down and having conversations about business, which is what I like to do too when I talk to people that I want to work with and stuff. I don't do interviews, right? I just go up and talk to them and see if they know anything about business and if they can help me. Imagine if I were to walk into that interview and it was a real estate portion of it, and he mentions TMI. Do you guys know what TMI is? Tax, maintenance, and insurance. I remember this specifically. I think he was trying to throw me off because he just flat out said, the TMI on that place was a few dollars per square foot. And I think he was trying to throw me off because this was just at the beginning. But I knew what that was. I was prepared. What that is. And it was just, you got to be prepared for that stuff. You got to know all the little intricacies of the business that you want to jump into. And you got to know what you're doing. You got to know everything there is to know about it. So I think that's going to wrap this video up. Hopefully this helps you a little bit here, because here's what you need to know beforehand. Here's what you're going to need to do to pitch, and here's where you find them. All right. So that's going to wrap this video up. Remember to check out the stock market program and the Wealth Accelerator program in the link below. Wealth Accelerator, everyone's loved it so far, and it's pretty much taught people how to build a business, how to advance in their careers. So how I did it specifically, it's 8 hours long, and I really enjoyed making it, and I know it provided a lot of value to you guys that have went through it. So make sure to check that out, and I'd like to thank you very much for watching. You're all very beautiful people, and I'll see you guys in the next video.